Hello. Right. So, hello everyone. So this is kind of a short-term stream I'm doing. So I hope you can hear me. I hope you can hear the music in the background, and I hope you can see my gameplay. So today we're going to code a data pack that allows you to basically track any entity you want. So I haven't really decided on how I want the player to be able to track the entity, but basically I want to show the distance from you to the entity in the action bar right here. Oh. Let me add you as a mod. Alright, so the reason I want to do this is because I basically used a very similar technique already in my speed calculator data pack, and I want to use that again. And yeah, so let's get started. Yeah, so now you'll be able to see my desktop, and the first thing we're gonna do is basically get a data pack from somewhere else and copy paste it into our world, because I don't want to deal with making a new data pack from scratch. So we're gonna name that entity tracker, and basically make the base of the data pack. Yeah, it's just rough. Yeah, I hope you can see everything. Is the volume good, by the way? Alright. Alright, so the base data pack should be done now, and yeah, when you reload it shows the reload message. So that's good so far. So now we want to actually code the functionality. Silicat sus? No, I'm not sus. What are you talking about? Control C, Control V. Yeah, exactly. Roses are red, violets are blue. Yes. Oh god. I see I'm gonna have to deal with the chat in the future. Light mode sus. Come on. Come on. Bro, why do you have to be like this? Alright, so I think the way I want to do this, does anyone have any suggestions on how you could select the entity? Like, for now, I think we could make it so that when you right-click with an entity, like right-click on an entity with a warp fungus on a stick, then it selects the entity. Does anyone have any ideas? I'm gonna wait for like a minute, and then my brain can't handle light up and outside for 32 months. Oh god. Raycast and detect entity. Yeah, that's what I thought. Raycast is probably the best way. And once this is up for download, I think people could basically delete the raycast part and basically change it to whatever they want. Maybe get own distance? What do you mean exactly with that? Make MC full screen? If Minecraft is full screen, then you won't see me code, then you would just see me stand here. And I couldn't code with full screen, by the way. Subtract own distance from other distance. You mean coordinates? I mean, I'm gonna do something similar. That's the way on how I can calculate the distance between me and the other entity. Silly Mambo Chamba fan? I watch him, but actually this channel is a channel where we haven't watched a single video, so this is just what the algorithm suggests to a Minecraft channel, I guess. Alright, so in this case I'm gonna have to make a warp fungus on a stick, and whenever you right click an entity with it, like this pig, then it would just basically link up this pig with my player character, and then I would see the distance between that pig and me in the action bar. One thing is that I want to make this multiplayer compatible, which will make this a lot more complicated, but I already have an idea on what I want to do. Yeah, I think it's simpler to detect position and subtract. Yeah, exactly, that's what I'm gonna do. Right, so first, in the load function, I'm gonna make a new score. Score objectives, add right click, Minecraft, used Minecraft, warp fungus on a stick. Alright, so this basically adds a new score that that goes up whenever I right click this carrot on a stick, or warped fungus on a stick. Now I want to do it so that whenever I right click it runs a function, so I'm gonna have to put that into the tick function. So execute as at a scores right click equals 1 or higher, run function tracker colon right click. And in the right click function I'm gonna have to reset the score, so score players reset at as right click. And maybe a text message like, say, hello world, just to see that everything works. So when I reload now, every time I right click it says hello world. So far so good. Now I want to make it so that it only works with a specific warped fungus on a stick, like give it as warped fungus on a stick with a special tag like entity tracker colon 1b maybe. So right now it triggers whenever I right click warped fungus on a stick, regardless on what type it is. I don't want that because that would influence the vanilla gameplay, so that you could not use the vanilla warped fungus on a stick's ability. So instead, I'm gonna make a check. And for this, I'm gonna make a data check. So execute if data entity at a selected item dot tag dot entity tracker. So basically, if the item in my selected item slot has the entity tracker colon 1b tag, then it runs a function, namely the tracker right click slash, what do we call it? Maybe raycast init. That's probably how we're gonna call that function. Now let me make that function really quick. So right click and raycast init. And now when we put say hi in here, you can see that whenever I right click with this specific warped fungus on a stick, it says hi. But when I use the normal warped fungus on a stick out of the creative inventory, you can see that it doesn't say anything. So that's basically the system we're gonna use. Silly use advancement, much efficient. There sadly is no advancement for right clicking a carrot on a stick or a warped fungus on a stick, so yeah, I can't use that sadly. Yeah. Alright, now that we have the say hi command whenever we right click this specific warped fungus on a stick, let's actually make the raycast. So a raycast basically is whenever you right click this warped fungus on a stick, it will basically make a line from our face basically to wherever we look. And I want to limit that raycast to a specific amount of blocks. So let me make a new score real quick for so that we can set a maximum range. Scoreboard objectives add maybe temp stands for temporary. So yeah, that will be our new score. Alright, so now that we have the temp score, we can actually do some maths here. So we want to make a raycast that goes for about, let's say the range of our raycast should be 6 blocks. Yeah, let's say 6 blocks. And I don't want to run too many commands. So basically, every time the raycast goes 1 block forward, it would have to run the function 1 more time. So if I used like a function for every hundredths of a block, then it would run like 6,000 function, which is not very efficient. So I'm just gonna run the function once every fourth of a block, maybe. So we just have to have a limit of, oh no, sorry, my maths were wrong. So we have a limit of 6 blocks times 4 because we're gonna run it once every fourth of a block. Or no, let's say times 10 so that it's 60 functions in the worst case. Yeah, let's say 60. So basically the maximum range as a score is 60 because it counts every tenth of a block of the maximum range. So we set a score to 60 in the raycast initiate function. Scoreboard players set a fake player name like raycast temp to 60. And I made a separate function for that so that it only runs once. So now we can make another function called raycast. And this function will now have to be run by the raycast init function. So we do slash execute, oh no, I'll make that in game. Execute at s anchored eyes run function and then the raycast. That should theoretically work. So now we just have to test it. So now we can make like particle flame in the raycast function. So right now it only runs once whenever we right click. But you can see here it runs at my feet instead of my head. This has a reason, so I have to add this positioned with these 3 weird symbols here, because anchored eyes doesn't actually do anything on its own. It needs a positioned or an at afterwards. Yeah, now it works, as you can see here. Now it works. So now we want the raycast to remove 1 from the score every time it's run. Score players remove raycast temp 1. And then we want to check if there's an entity that collides with the raycast, basically. So execute if entity at e let's say tag not equal raycast player dx equals 0, which would technically mean it collides with the hitbox. So For that, we basically have to make a tag first. Sorry, that's a bit confusing. Okay, basically I added the raycast player tag to the player who runs the raycast, and then I did execute if entity at E that has not the raycast player tag. Basically, I don't want the raycast to hit me. I want to have the raycast hit every other entity that it collides with, but not me. Silly, stop scratching your mic. That's sadly not possible because there is a long cable to it and it goes directly next to me. Sorry if that's a bit loud, but that's all I can do, sorry. You can also make like a red link of smoke particles that change color if you're further away. I don't know what you mean exactly by that, maybe I understand later. You can make like a link to an entity. What? I don't understand that command. What? Yeah, let's just continue. So basically, if it hits an entity, it will run a command at the entity, namely at the entity that is nearest. Sort equals nearest, limit equals 1, and then run function tracker right click / raycast hit. So let's make a function called raycast hit, and then make like particle flame and scoreboard players reset raycast temp. So that basically stops. It basically resets the raycast score, and later on I will make it so that if the score is 0, that it will stop the raycast. Because once we hit an entity, I don't want the raycast to continue going because it's already hit the target. Alright, so now execute if score raycast temp matches 1 or higher. So basically, if the score isn't 0, so if the maximum distance hasn't been reached yet, and there is no entity that it collides with, then it should run the function again, the raycast function, but 0.1 blocks forward. So tracker, right click, raycast. Yeah, hopefully I did it right. Yes, I did it right. Let me make a particle command so that you can see it. Particle crit. Yeah, so sorry. I have to change the music. Yeah, so basically whenever I right click this specific carrot on a stick now, it shoots a ray that goes like 6 blocks forward. And when it hits an entity, it creates a flame particle at the entity. So yeah, that's quite cool so far. But we don't just want to run the function at the entity. We want to run the function as the entity and at its location. So that doesn't change anything right now, but it's very important later on, because what I want to do is basically make an entity ID system so that I can link entities better with each other. So let me make a new scoreboard. Scoreboard objectives add entity ID dummy. Put that into the load function. Alright, so now I want the entity that got hit to get an entity ID. So for this, I need to make a rather complicated command that looks like this. Execute store result score at s entity ID. So basically, the command that runs after this will get the result of it will get stored in the entity's score, and the command will be score players at player ID entity ID 1, or no, entity ID. So basically what this does is it adds 1 to a number, and then the new number will get stored in the entity's score. And when that runs for multiple entities, every single entity will have a unique score, basically, so that I can better track them with a selector. So now if I do this and right click, you can see that whenever it hits, it increases the score of the entity by 1. But I don't want it to increase the score if it already has one, because that could mess with other things. So let me make it so that it only does this when it doesn't have a score. So execute unless score at s entity ID matches 1 or higher. So basically, it executes the command if no score is set. So now you can see the score is 33 for that pig, and it's 34 for that pig, 35 for that pig, and so on. So that's basically the entity ID system. But now, how do I link the entities with the player? Doesn't seem to be complicated. Yeah, it's just that one command is hard to come up with if you're doing it yourself. If you have a score that displays distance, you can compare that to the other max distance. I don't quite get what you mean with that. If you have a score that displays distance, you can compare that. Cloudwolf DataPack? What do you mean with that message? I'm not making a Cloudwolf DataPack, I'm making a SilicatYT DataPack. Entity linker. I mean, it's possible that he made an entity linker at some point, but I'm gonna make my own for this project. And it's not that complicated either, so basically, I don't just want to set the entity's entity ID, but I want to link it to the player. So for that, I need to make yet another score called linked entity, and I promise this will probably be the last score I'll add, because linked entity will be stored in the player instead of the entity. So basically, I want to make it so that scoreboard player's operation, the person who has the raycast player tag should have the same linked entity score as the entity's entity ID. So that's basically what this command here does. I hope the tag is correct. Raycast player, yeah, it's correct. Alright, so now linked entity. So now when I right click this pig, it shows me that my score is 36. When I right click this pig, it's 37 again, 36 when I click that, 37 when I click that. So far it's perfect. I gotta go see the Gawcat. The Gawcat is cool. Bye the Gawcat. Yeah, so now that we have the entity linker, or rather we are linked by a score, so now I want to calculate the distance, and the distance will be probably the most exciting part of the data pack. For that, we have to make a new command in the take function that runs for every player that has a linked entity score. So execute as at a scores linked entity equals 1 or higher, run function tracker. What should the function be called? Maybe track / slash find entity. Yeah, that's probably alright. So we make a new folder called track, and we make a new function called find entity. And so, how do we find an entity that has the same score as we do? So, if you remember, this command here is run as the player, so we need to find the distance between the entity and the player. But how do we do that if you don't know what entity exactly we have to find? So to find the entity with the same score, we need to make it so that first we set a fake player's score, and then we check for every single entity if the score matches the fake player's score. So we do it like this: scoreboard players, operation, the fake player with the name search, entity ID equals our linked entity score. So now, sorry, that music is getting repetitive. Alright, so now we have to make another command called execute as at E, as everyone that has an entity ID score. If score at S entity ID matches the search's linked entity score. So this tests, this searches for the entity with the same score. Then maybe run say hi, maybe. Okay. So right now it runs a say hi command for every entity that is linked to us. We can only have one linked entity, so yeah, let's change this to a particle command. That's probably better. Oh yeah, sorry. I forgot the edit S. Yes, so now we can see this pig is linked to us, and it displays the flame particles. Now that we link us to this entity, this pig has the flame particles. Now we can change that again. We can basically link us to any entity we want, really. Now comes the funny part where we actually calculate the distance. So I still have to find the best way to do this. So we definitely need to do to run 3 data get commands, or execute store commands. So sorry. First of all, I'm talking a bit weirdly today. I'm sorry for the commentary, it's probably not the most interesting, but another sorry that I lied to you, because we need 6 more scores, namely for the positions of us and the entity right here. So scoreboard objectives at board X player dummy, then chord Y and C player, of course, and then the same thing again for the entity. So yeah, now that we have the new scores, we can store the stuff. So as the linked entity, we now run a function. Oh, sorry. Run function tracker track slash get chords entity, maybe. I'm sorry, my function file names are not really the best ones, but I hope you can understand what I mean. So basically now we want to score the we want to store the coordinates of the entity into a score. So execute store result score for the fake player coordinates. So we want to store the x coordinates into the coord x entity score of the coordinates fake player by running a dataget command. So dataget entity at s position 0, which stands for the x coordinates, and with a scale of with a scale of 100. Let's do 100 for now. So we do that for all three coordinates, y and z, 1 and 2. So now it should store the coordinates with a factor of 10, with a factor of 100, sorry, into the, yeah, it works, into the score. Now we want to do the same thing for the player. So, yeah, maybe make another function call, or no, let's keep it in here. Now we want to do the same thing, but as the player. So coord x player, coord y player, and coord z player, and we basically do the same thing. Now we have 6 scores with the player coordinates and the entity coordinates, and now we have to calculate the distance from them. The way we do the way we do this now is we subtract the 2 coordinates, doesn't matter in which order. We subtract the coordinates from each other, and then we use the Pythagorean formula to merge all these 3 numbers together, because the coordinates here are just points on a coordinate field, on a coordinate field, and x, y, and z coordinates have a 90 degrees angle between them, so we can use the Pythagorean formula on them. That's probably a better explanation for this than what I presented in the speed display video. That was just overcomplicated, and it would have been way more simple if I did it like this. So, now let's calculate the difference from the scores. So, scoreboard player's operation, the fake player coordinates. So we want to edit that player's score. Coord x player will be so we will subtract, the coordinates, the x coordinates of the entity from the x coordinates of the player. That is what this command does. Let's do the same for y coordinates and z coordinates. Now we have the difference from these coordinates. I wonder if this works. Like, it should. It should definitely work. But it just feels like it doesn't work really well. Oh no, it's because it displays the coord x entity instead of the coord x player score. Because the difference of the scores are now stored in the coord x player score. So scope objective set display sidebar coord x player. Yes, the coord x player score now has the distance times 100, of course. Because, sorry, I really have a hard time talking right now. So this is times 100 because scores can't have decimals. But we still need to have decimals so that we can make it accurate. So instead of having decimals, we are just making the number 100 times bigger. That's basically what we're doing. Yeah, so now we have the... Oh, now I get it again. So, the minus in front of the score might be wrong, but don't worry, that will get fixed later because we have to use a square root later. Now I hear that sound. What sound? So right now, we will have to download, or basically use NOPEname square root calculator for this. Let me take it out of the speed display. DataPack. So entity existence tracker, tracker functions, and put that in here. And square root. Yeah. Alright, so now we have the square root here. We have to edit some of these maybe. So we have a temp score, we don't have a square root score now. We'll also need a constant score, so you'll need 2 more scores, but I promise these 2 scores will be the last ones we'll add. Yeah, these will be the last ones, don't worry. So into the load function it goes. Now constant and square root. Oh no, let's just keep temp for this. So we need the constant 2, I think, so scoreboard player set the constant 2 player. Constant to 2. So basically, when we want to calculate with numbers, we have to do it like this. So we set a fake player's score to 2. That's how we can calculate with numbers. So we only need 2, I think. Let's change square root to temp in here, because I don't want to make another score for this, and it's basically the same because it gets deleted like after a tick. Yeah. Alright, so sorry for that sound. Yeah, now it should be all ready to go. So let me try that actually. Silly lies for the 3rd time. I'm sorry! I'm so sorry actually. I'm so sorry. So let's actually test the square root data pack. Scoreboard player set the input score, let's set it to 10. No, let's set it to 100. So the square root of 100 is 10. So if it can... so yeah, the input is 10, and now we have to run the square root exe score function, but it doesn't seem to work. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Okay, now it still doesn't work. Oh. Probably messed something up here. No, I didn't. What? Yeah, it's temp score. Blah blah blah. Output. Temp score. Input. Oh, right. It's the wrong function path. It's tracker Square root. Sorry. Yeah, now it should work. Yes, the output is 10 as you can see here. Now if we input like 49, it should output 7. Yes, so it works now. So now, let's get our formula. So, sorry, I'm gonna have to change the music again. Alright. Hello, Scorcher Plays. What happened to YouTube rank on Hypixel? I'm not blue, first of all. I don't know what happened to it. I think they just forgot blue. Maybe. As harsh as this might sound. But I doubt that they would just say no to blue, but not notify him. So like, he requested the rank a while ago, like multiple months, and he still hasn't gotten an answer. And when people get rejected, they always get notified, from what I know. So I think they might have forgotten him. I definitely hope that Blue will get his YouTube rank because he deserves it. He makes awesome content, and he works basically 24/7. So yeah, I really hope he gets the YouTube rank. Hello, Entity Tiger. So yeah, let's get our formula ready. So we want to use the Pythagorean formula. So our formula will be real distance equals the square root of difference x plus difference y plus difference c, of course squared. I forgot that. So that's basically our formula. This means squared. This just means that the number is squared. The square number we just have to multiply by itself. So let's actually do that in the findEntity function. So we have the difference of the scores in chord X player, chord C player, and the chord Y player. So now we just have to multiply it by itself. Score player's operation coordinates chord X player times chord X player. We basically just do that. Do the same for chord Y player and chord C player. Now we could just ignore chord Y player, and that would be basically what I did in the speed display datapack, where I just displayed the horizontal speed but not the vertical speed. I just ignored that. But it's actually not that difficult to make it three-dimensional. You just add one more value. Like, to make it two-dimensional, it would just be this. That is literally all it was. And now we just have this, which is not very different. It's just one more number. So now that we have the values, now that we have the values squared, we can add them together. So scoreboard operation coordinates chord X player. Let's store them all in the coordinates temp score. I don't think the coordinates already has temp score set, so the temp score will basically be all the coordinates together. Chord Y player and chord C player. So this coordinates temp score is now all the coordinate distances squared all together. And now, no, let's change this to input, because that's basically all there is. This is the input number. Now we just have to take the square root of this number, and then we have the distance between the entity and the player. So let's see if this works. Okay, there is a lot of confusion going on there. I don't really like that. Like the temp score, the output temp score should be the distance. So 7. It's always 7. It doesn't really do anything. It just stays at 7. Oh yeah, because it doesn't run the square root function yet. Yeah, we have to run that here. Alright, it looks better. So now we basically have to divide that number by 100 at the end. So basically we need another entity with a score, but not another score, don't worry. We just have to copy paste that number and do it like this. So now we divide the output score by 100. Scoreboard, players, operation, output, temp, divided by 100. Actually, let me use a website for a special command. I'm gonna start making Minecraft streams soon. Okay. What happens if the distance is higher than the integer limit? Yeah, that's a problem. Because we multiply the number by 100, it basically means that that we reach a number overflow sooner, but it's still gonna be like very high. I really hope that this isn't happening right here, but let's just see. I'm gonna make a command that displays the score. Alright, output temp. Alright, so now I have a command, title it as action bar, and then it should display. Yeah, it doesn't really look very good. It doesn't really look promising. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it doesn't really look promising at all. There must be an oversight somewhere because the numbers aren't really that big. Because it's squaring numbers like 2 right now and it's still creating an overflow. Yeah, that's definitely weird. Alright, so let's start from the beginning. So this gets the coordinates of the entity, and get coordinates entity just stores the score with a factor of 100 in the fake player coordinates coord x, c, and y entity. And then we do the same thing for the player, and we can verify that this function is run by the player. Yes, it's run by the player. And then we have, then we subtract the entity's coordinates from the player's coordinates, and then we square the difference for all 3 coordinates. Oh, I found it. I used an @s here instead of coordinates. I found it. this is probably what made it break. It definitely looks better now. It doesn't look good, but it looks way better now. Yeah, it just increases. What? The number just increases faster? Okay, that's weird. Now it's making an overflow again. It shouldn't display a negative number. That's really weird. And you can see here that number is even changing when nobody's moving, so it's definitely something wrong with the code. What is the get coordinates? Super weird. So that's the difference of the coordinates. Here it gets squared. I mean, I've done it already, so I know it's possible. Maybe because temp is never reset to 0. That shouldn't matter, because we're overriding it all the time. As you can see here, it's made equal to the chord X player. And chord X player is also reset at the start of every tick with this command here. I'm confused. I'm actually confused here. Maybe there's something wrong with these three? Score player's operation coordinates 10. Let's do it with a factor of 1 instead of 100. For now, because I want to see what's wrong. I really want to see what's wrong. Okay, it's the same problem. It just subtracts 1. It subtracts numbers if the distance is low enough. Which is definitely not what we want. Maybe there is a score that isn't set. Maybe the square root system is screwing something up. I mean, it's possible. It's definitely possible that there is a score that doesn't match. That's really weird. I'm so sorry, guys. Why are there so many inputs? Imagine being negative 10 million blocks away from a pig. Yeah, imagine. Line 18, you only update the temp from input and not the coordinates input. You update only the temp from input and not the coordinates input. Line 18, you mean this? Oh, right. Right. It should be this, I think. Yeah, it looks better now. still doesn't look good, but it definitely looks better now. Let me try to rethink these. These three commands. So here we have the squared difference. So now we want to add them all together, and we do this in the input score. So the input score should theoretically be all three squared numbers added together. Then we take the square root of this, which should, in theory, give us the real distance. But it doesn't do it for some reason. Oh, because I messed something up with the numbers just now. Maybe it's better now? Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Who said that? Handy1928. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's fixed now. And it works now. Up to which number does it go? I want to see how far it can go before it breaks. Okay, yeah. So it breaks at 463. Yeah, so let's say that when the number is when the distance is too big, let's just say that it doesn't display the score anymore. Because at this point it would just not be necessary, I think. I mean, 460 blocks is a good range. 460 blocks definitely is a good range. And I just love it that it also uses the vertical distance now. I really like this. I never write something in Minecraft code, so I was not sure about the variables here. Yeah, you were definitely right. I forgot to change two lines when I changed one. But now it works. Now we have the distance. And if we use a factor of 10 when storing the coordinates, then it should still be quite close. Yeah, it's not that close anymore because it's only using one decimal. But I think it's still close enough. It's definitely still close enough, and now because we only use a factor of 10, that later gets squared, the distance should be way higher than before. So let's see. $3,000. Oh my god. 4,633. 4,633 is our new limit. I'm so happy right now. Yeah, so 4,033, I don't think that anyone would need a tracker that works for longer distances than this. So let me try to find the pig by using the tracker. And it worked. I just used the tracker to find that pig over here. I love it. I actually love it. Just saying the action bar, distance too big when it's above 463. Exactly. But now the number is 4,600. Let's limit it to 4,500. if they use for Manhunt, maybe. Yeah, maybe, but I think for Manhunt it would be a slightly different system when that only says the coordinates when you hold the compass, which is a bit different. This is just a proof of concept. Like, no, it's not a proof of concept because similar stuff has been done before. It's just, yeah, a data pack that uses distance and stuff. Yeah, because we used an ID for the entity instead of the player, it's actually multiplayer compatible. So if I try to get my alt online really quickly, it should in theory work for the other player as well. Let me open it to LAN for that real quickly. Alright. Okay, so we teleport that player to us now. We give him the warp fungus on a stick, and then we select us. Oh. Yeah. Because when you code, there will always be oversights. So right now, I forgot to remove the raycast player tag once the raycast is done. So, tag as remove raycast player, / reload, and run these commands. Now I should be able... Yes. Yes, it works. Let me actually show that to you. Now I selected myself with the other player, and you see here, the distance works. So this player here is linked to Silicat, but Silicat is linked to a pig that is over here. And hopefully yes. Alright, so multiple players can tag the same player. That's very good. That's very, very good. However, there is still something I need to fix, because imagine the player that is getting tracked goes offline, or the entity that is getting tracked is killed. Actually, it still shows the coordinates where they were before. That's actually quite cool. Yeah, I'd say for the player, if it's a player, that would be cool. But if it's an entity, I definitely want the link to be removed once the entity gets killed. Okay, that's weird. Let me see the tags. So no, I don't have any tags. But that's weird. Sorry. I need to fix something really quickly. I need to see if something specific works. So yeah, when I link myself to Kuroshi Wolf, it works. And same with SilicatYT, so it can show the distance. I was just getting confused before because previously it showed 0 for him, so I thought maybe he got linked with himself, but I don't think so. I don't think he got linked with himself. So yeah, that's the distance part done. Now let's get to the layout. So Yeah, let's actually make an action bar text for this. So maybe distance to, and then the entity, maybe? Or maybe entity found, and then the player name, so, or the entity name. So how do we do this? We could give the entity tag, of course, a temporary tag that is immediately getting removed after the tell raw. Yeah, let's do this. Find entity, and here in get courts entity, we do this. Tag it as add temp entity, maybe, or just temp in general. Then in find entity, we run tag at e remove temp, or tag at e tag temp remove temp. And then we can actually, then we can actually select the entity with a selector. So now we need a space. Yeah, that should work. Oh no. Okay, I just accidentally removed another command. Yeah, but now it should work again. Alright, so... What? Is the link? Is the link removed? Or do I have a typo? Do I have a typo function? Yeah, cohorts entity exists. Okay, find entity does not exist, so I made a typo somewhere. Oh yes. I have one line too much. So I slash reload. Yes! Alright, it works. It shows to which entity you are connected. So if I now take a cow, it says entity found cow, and then it says the distance. Perfect. Now I just want to make it colorful. Maybe like this. That will make it look way better. Oh no, sorry. This. Oh god, this... Alright. Detect if the entity dies then. You can't really detect if the entity dies, but I'd rather detect when the entity cannot be found. So maybe, instead of running a function as the entity... Oh no, I will definitely run a function as the entity, but inside that entity, I will set a score to 1. And then check if the score is set. If not, then the entity does not exist, and thus it should remove the link. That's probably what I'm gonna do. The problem is when a player goes offline, it would remove the link for the player that is looking for that offline player, but the offline player wouldn't be affected. So I'll have to make some sort of storage where I basically store every player's scores and then apply them back to the player. but only after resetting. That could work. But I'm not gonna do that right now. That would probably be a bit too boring, so I'd rather finish the design of this. Maybe this. I just made a small change. It definitely looks better now. But does it look good? Does anyone have any suggestions in the chat? Or just exclamation mark players in the command for entities? Yeah, but I want people to be able to detect players as well, because come on, that's basically the thing it was made for. And I can get it to work for players. It's not like I cannot get it to work on a technical side. It wouldn't even take that long, I think. It would just be a bit tedious for the stream because I would have to think about it first, and it would be boring for people to watch probably. So yeah, I think I'll end the stream very soon, just after doing some finishing touches later. Maybe I can change the color here to red, or just add a few spaces here. That could make it look either way better or way worse. Way worse. It's way worse. Oh god, it's way worse than before. I think yellow fits quite well with this. Alright, let's reload again. Yes, I think that looks pretty good. Now, I don't want the flame particles to display when it hits the entity, and I don't want the crit particles to show whenever I shoot. So, in the raycast hit function, I'll have to remove this command, and in the raycast function, remove this command. Now reload. Yes. Alright, it works. It actually works. Alright, so when I select an entity, maybe it can show a few particles, like maybe the new wax on particles. They look quite nice. So maybe like this. I don't know. Like, maybe. Let's try. So, now we have that pig. And when we right click it, okay, it doesn't really look that good. It doesn't really look that good. Not gonna lie. Maybe Happy Villager would look better. Yeah, I'll keep it that way for now. But it's definitely not ideal. I'll also have to add a play sound maybe, because play sound would give it a lot more weight when you execute this. So what kind of play sound could I use? Minecraft. Does the witch have something good to celebrate, maybe? Okay, no, that's definitely a bad idea. Death, hurt throw. No. Maybe. Oh yeah. Zombie villager cure, maybe. Maybe, but maybe this. But the play sound should only play for the person who right-clicked, so it only plays it for at P who has to tag raycast player. Reload again. Yeah, I think that's good. That's fine. Oh yeah, true. The particles should also only display for the person who did the raycast. So particle blah blah blah. And then normal at S probably, or normal at P tag raycast player. So if I press F5 with Kuroshi off, he won't see any particles, but I will. It works. And the same in reverse. Yes, perfect. But maybe I should execute it one block higher. I don't know. This just looks better. What about smaller entities? Okay, no, one block higher is definitely too much, but maybe half a block higher. Half a block higher definitely looks way better for smaller entities. For players too. Perfect. Now, chicken. For chickens it looks okay, I'd say. Now I wonder, is there... I mean, it should be able to detect items too. Yes! Alright, so we can basically just search for any entity we want. And yeah, that's the problem. When there is no entity, it would just say distance 0. Most of the time, sometimes it apparently switches. Is it based on location? Oh no, it's when you're moving really fast. When you're moving really fast, the distance can vary up to 1 block for some reason. Alright, good to know. So yeah, it doesn't say which entity you found, which is definitely a problem. And that's probably gonna be fixed off screen, and then this data pack will be released to the public eventually. Like, I still have a lot of data packs I want to release. Entity location doesn't change, but player location does. Yeah, but it doesn't compare the previous player's location to the current player location. It takes the player location, subtracts the entity location from it, and then it squares the whole number and does weird things to it. I just don't know why it's always in 0, and just switches to 1 when I'm moving really fast, because because the number doesn't change on how fast I'm moving. It's just the distance between us, if that makes sense. It should be focused on the distance and not the speed, which is kind of confusing. But yeah, I still have a lot of data packs I'll have to release. I'll probably make a script for some videos very soon. I just don't want to mess this up because the next data pack that I'll release took a lot of time to make, and I hope that I can get some other Minecraft data pack YouTubers for a small collab, or just so that they're in the background, maybe when I'm experimenting with them with the commands or with the data pack. I'm still trying to get some YouTubers willing to do this, so yeah, it might take a while until the next video is released. I hope it's soon, but I just don't know because my script writing skills aren't really that good, and I just don't want to mess this video up. So yeah, I hope that this stream was to your liking, and I hope that I could make your day just a bit better. So yeah, thank you everyone. Yeah, Blue, yeah, maybe. I was hoping Command Geek too, maybe. Like, he replied once, the problem was just the timing. Maybe I can get Command Geek to join us for a video, just for the background maybe, or messing with the data pack. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I hope we'll see us very, very soon in another live stream or in a video. So, wait, what? Wait, no, don't end the stream. Okay, so I'll go to bed now. The stream will continue forever.